Hello and welcome to another development diary for Mongoose Traveller for Foundry Virtual Tabletop. I'm Samuel Penn, also known as Not a Snark on Discord and other places, and I'm here to give you a quick update on some of the things I've been working on recently. There haven't been any big changes of late. I was hoping to get something out this weekend, but I think it still needs some more work before I can release it. However, a small patch did go out this morning containing a couple of bug fixes around the use of the training macro. It seems some of you are building your own career pages after I gave an explanation of how the macros worked, which is great. It also means the macros are being tested and a couple of bugs have been found. The main issue was around the behavior of the profession skill. So I can give a demo here. So we have our character, and if we, what do I want? I want journals, bring up the test page. So this is just, have a look at this. This just is using the training macro. So if we've got our character selected, so if we click on profession, what used to happen was it would set profession to trained, and now what it does is it will actually ask you to select which profession it is you want to train, and when you select it, the problem before was it wasn't actually marking that specialization as trained, it was rating the skill. So we could set our profession to 0, which will set that as trained and allow you to select another profession, and it will set that speciality to 0, but it will mark it as trained. Professions are a bit weird in Mongoose Traveller 2nd edition. Unlike other specialities, they don't automatically all have a skill of 0 when you mark the parent skill as trained. So it needs a bit of different behavior, and yeah, we can set them to a particular level, and this one will also allow you to increment them. So hopefully the behavior of the profession skill when you're training it, especially from a careers page, it should be correct. Okay, I'm not currently entirely happy with Foundry version 13, but most things seem to work on it. But for those of you who are using Mongoose Traveller with Foundry 13, I've added it. I won't call it a feature, but I've noticed something which might be nice to have. So if we let's open up a combat, and if we add Alice and these two to the combat tracker, we roll everyone's initiative. Then when we begin the encounter, what you now get, what you can now have is a little Imperium sunburst marker as part of the combat tracker. So if we move between the characters in the combat, you can see that dial there is set on there and that's spinning. Now that's not done automatically. If you go to settings, let's look for combat, go to configure combat tracker, you can set a media source to use as the turn marker. You can set up a animation for spin and other things. Actually, I haven't tried these other things, so I'm not sure what they do. And there is now a combat marker SVG in the system folder under icons MISC. This is basically just the Imperial sunburst with the middle knocked out. So if we save that setting, save changes, so you could have it pulsating rather than spinning if you want, but it gives a slightly more traveller feel to things when you're doing combat. The default marker is a D20, which doesn't really fit Traveller at all. I'm sure there are better ones out there, but I thought I'd add in a quick and easy one, which has a bit of a Traveller feel to it. Okay, now time to have a look at the main thing I've been working on over the last week or so. So I've returned to looking at planets. So planets have a bit of support within Foundry. You can set up the basic UWP items. There is also faction stuff that will be generated when you hit generate. I've gone over that before. So these are just some planets that I've set up manually for just to demo the trade system, basically. They've also all got maps and graphics which are generated from my WorldGen environment, which I've talked about previously. But if we look at trade now, what we can see is a planet will have a list of all the trade goods and the prices for them. So when we hit speculate, it will use your character's current broker skill to calculate what the prices are for buying and selling. If you want to set broker skill, you can just drag your character down onto there. So since I updated this world, Alice has obviously improved her broker skill. You can also drop her down onto there, onto Streetwise to set this Streetwise skill to use for illegal trade goods, and you can set the local broker value there as well, which is normally 2. So after you've set that, you can hit speculate, and it will randomly determine what the speculative trade goods are. So if we go to our ship and look at the cargo bay, we now have a cash value there. This isn't set on all ships, and by default they won't track them because generally it's only going to be the player ship that needs to track that, but there's a button you can click which will enable that for a ship. I haven't exactly decided where to stick that button at the moment. Currently it sits here, but I might stick it under notes or something like that. Something else I've done, by the way, is tidied up the sidebar on the left of ships. So hopefully it's a little bit cleaner. It will also automatically calculate the cost of the fuel cost of a jump 1, and also tell you how much fuel you use each week. It won't automatically deduct that when you do a jump or anything like that. Might be nice to have, but it's not done at the moment. So we have our Beowulf. We have about 400,000 credits in cash, and we've got 50 tons of cargo space. So what we can do is have a look at what goods are available. It shows the quantity, it shows the buy price, and it will also show how much that price is above or below the average for that good. So anything green is generally good and worth buying. Likewise for sell, you've got how much you can sell the goods for, and it will tell you what the variance is there. So negative on buying is good because it means it's cheaper. Negative on selling is bad because it means you're probably going to be selling it for a loss. So we can have a look at goods, and what shall we have? So advanced manufactured goods are quite good. So let's copy them across, and we now get a little pop-up. It will tell us that how much cash we've got, the unit price, how much is available, and also give you an option to buy. So it's only giving us an option of buying up to 4 tons because that's all we can afford. So if we buy that, then 4 tons is moved into our ship and our cash reserves are dropped. We also output something into the chat to basically give us a record of what's been done. So often the idea for the trade system is it's something the players can go and do and without having to involve the GM. So this is just a record that gets posted just to keep people honest, and also if you make a mistake, then you can go back and look to see, okay, what did we do, how much did we spend, what did we buy, and possibly unwind things. Now there isn't an unwind option, unfortunately. If you move things across, you bought it. You touch it, you bought it. Right, so we could also have a look down here. So we've got room for some common raw materials. We can buy 15 tons of them. So we've now bought those. And again, the record goes there. So let's go to another world. Assume we've done a jump. Go to trade. We'll have a look there and check for speculate. So what we've got advanced manufactured goods, and well, that's not a good place to sell those here. But however, it's a good place to sell common raw materials. So if we put those in here, drag them across, it will tell us, yeah, we can sell 15 tons. Again, we can select how much we actually want to sell. And it's telling us we're making a 2,000 credit profit on each unit. And so if we sell that, it gives us some money and puts into chat that what the profit was, what was sold and how much, etc. And then we could buy other things here. Let's have a look. So crew goes to this world. We haven't used this world for testing before. Speculate. Advanced manufactured goods. Aha, so this is a good world to sell advanced manufactured goods at. So if we move that there, we can tell us we're making 45,000 credit profit on each ton. Unfortunately, we've only got 4 tons, but let's sell that. And we're now up to 610,000 credits. So we've made, I can't remember what we started with. I think it was about, well, we made a lot. So we made 180,000 profit there. So we made about 200,000 profit. So that's not too bad. Now, obviously, there's nothing here protecting, well, sort of enforcing where your ship is. So it assumes the players or the GM will only be looking at the world where your ship is actually at. Now, what we used to use when we did trade was we had there was a Google spreadsheet which someone did, which was quite good, and it allowed you to look at other systems and sort of plot out what the price is going to be. That might be nice to implement in here. I would like the entire trade system to be able to do it from within Foundry without having to go out to external spreadsheets and things. It might be nice to track when the last speculation roll was done. Maybe only the GM should be able to change that value. So yeah, so there's some changes which I need to work on. I need to sort of play around with bug fixes and things and do some QA testing of it all. But for the most part, it seems to be working. The other side of trade is freight, which has been sort of implemented a while back. So just recap here. If you drag one world on to another, then it will calculate what the freight is from to that world. So this is calculating the freight for new home going to Akade. And it doesn't generate mail and it doesn't generate passengers. That's something I need to work on still. Yeah, so have a look at this and bays. Then what's the chance of this working? We go freight contract, expected payment. So that's going to be that. Yeah, so that doesn't cost us any money. But when we go to Akade, what the chance of this working? Okay, that's automatically increased our cash reserves. So let's do that again. Yep. We got 713,000. We dropped that there. We got 843,000. So yeah, we can see it's automatically giving us the money. It just assumes you want to sell all of it, because why wouldn't you? In theory, if we buy that and we go to there, and we'll get a rather simple wrong world option come up here. It does know which world that freight is destined for, and what it should now do is work out the price of freight based on distance. So we've got Akade there, new home. That's 3. If we do Colchis, right? Yeah, that's only 1,600 as opposed to 2,600 for Akade, because Colchis is only 2 parsecs away, whereas Akade is 3 parsecs away. So it will calculate the amount of money you'll get from freight correctly, and it should generate the amount of freight it's building there correctly as well. Might be nice to split these up a bit better than just by title. I might turn the freight, I'm using a table here rather than the standard equipment view. So for most equipment and for characters, I use this box layout. It's mostly because I like seeing the artwork there, and I don't know, I find it a bit easier to use. For this, where you've got lots of things and you want a bit more data shown, it's easier to use a table. So I might change freight to a table. I might also change the cargo bay stuff to a table and split up speculative from freight, and depending on where freight's going to and coming from. So yeah, each cargo item is basically storing metadata about its destination and its source and stuff like that. So it knows where you should be selling it, and there might be a better way of displaying that information both on the world sheet and also on the ship sheet. So there's still a lot of work to do here. As I said, still don't handle passengers. That's going to be the complicated one. There's you can add passengers to. We seem to have 2 Alices here. I'm not entirely certain why. But yeah, you can have passengers on a ship, but these are considered to be actors. So if I create passengers on a world, do I create them all as NPCs or do I create them as items? Maybe when you drag them onto a ship, then they become NPCs at that point, and we can maybe generate some. I mean, the Mongoose system does have a random chart of characteristics for passengers and things, so maybe we could automatically roll that. But yeah, if we start generating NPCs for every character every passenger that joins your ship, after a while, that list of NPCs could get quite long. Might need tidying up. So there's lots of questions about exactly how we do that. I haven't fully decided on what option I'm going to go with yet. And yes, I do at some point want to add in support for multiple worlds per star system and that sort of thing, but that's, to be honest, not a high priority at the moment. I consider the trade system to be more useful in most games. If you want details on all the planets in the system, there's things like Traveller Map, and there's also my Traveller Map plugin, which will import that information into a journal, so you can have all that information in a journal. But it's not yet there on the world sheet, but maybe at some point in the future. One final thing, you probably noticed I've got this Hex Grid. I've just got this for a single sector. I do have graphics which allow you to generate a full sector. So what these are, basically it's an SVG. Currently it's not part of the main system. I've included this in the core rules package. Whether I'll make it available in the core system, I don't know. But I will put in details as to what sort of size of hexes and things you need to generate a sector map, because getting the graphics to automatically match up with the hex grid in Foundry was a bit of a faff. But yeah, and generating all the numbers for all the hexes. So this is just a graphic. So there's just, if I go back to the tiles, go to here, yeah, well, you can see that it's just a graphic with all the numbers set. I actually did this by generating the first one, and then I just wrote a script to basically set the SVG file and set the correct numbers for each subsector map. For the worlds, looking at the wrong thing, go back to the actors, token appearance. I actually found it useful to set the size of the tokens for worlds to be 0.5. Then they fit nicely within the hex. I'm also using 256 pixel wide hexes, which means that the text fits inside the hex reasonably well. I did try it with 100 pixel hexes, which is fine as far as the graphics are concerned, but it means a lot of the planet names tended to go outside of the box. There didn't seem to be a way of configuring the text size on tokens. I've also gone for a black background. I know Mongoose tend to default to a white background on their maps, which is ideal for printed stuff. But the other thing I couldn't figure out how to do was to change the font color. So if you have a white background with black hexes, you end up with white text on the white background. And though it's got a little bit of a shadow there, it wasn't particularly readable. So I've gone for a black star map with white hexes. But I'll probably write up the details I've used for these hex grids, because I think they are generally useful to be able to do. Or you could just use, as I said, Traveller Map or something like that. It would be really nice to be able to import the Traveller Map world actors into here. So setting up as I said, you can import in journal entries. What I do want to do is add in something which will create a world sheet with all the UWP data. So then it will set up all the trade stuff and it make it much easier for GMs to set things up. So they can just start using the trade system without having to input every single piece of world information there is. As I said, the icons are all my own, so every world's got its own blenderized little icon. Any automatic UWP import from Traveller Map wouldn't have that, but I think it would be helpful. Yeah, that's about it. So until next time, thank you for listening.